Well, let's head to our first conversation now. In a recent move to ensure better service delivery and compliance with banking regulations, the Central Bank of Nigeria has imposed a hefty fine of about 1.35 billion naira on 9 commercial banks for failing to dispense cash through their ATMs. On the other hand, we have the Nigerian Communications Commission threatening to name and shame banks owing telecom operators over 200 billion naira for the USSD service. Let's talk more now to Mr. Ogbonna Okuku, who is an economic development expert, joining me from our Abuja studio. Great to have you, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, laddie. It's good to have you. It's nice, being on the show.
Fantastic. So, from this fine, on the banks by the regulator, does it mean that the banks are the main division, between customers and cash? Or could it be the banks just don't have cash?
Now, for the central bank to want to monitor, that means the banks are not with the central bank. That means the banks are with the, with the commercial banks. So how they structure, how they dispense, how they, make their customers comfortable with those resources the onus is on them. So the reality is, whatever reason, whatever they do with these funds that they don't want to make those funds available, maybe, is actually very is disheartening, because Nigerians suffer. People, go as much as, it's only in Nigeria you hear people buying money, because, it comes to that point where people now begin to buy funds. Because if you go to the banks, you are not able to get funds from the ATM machine. So you are now left with no option but to, go to the ATM, the POS points, where you are asked to pay any amount of money to get those funds. But this is very key. This is what I say all the time. See, in my study of nations, looking at developed nations, and underdeveloped nations, one thing came out very strong, that we are not doing well. The developed nations, what they do is they don't expect people to do the right thing. They make people do the right thing. They are two different things. So what I like that the central bank is doing now is because the government of central bank now knows that they have to make these banks do the right thing. Because if I'm a regulator, if all I do is just speak and I don't do anything, you see, when people do wrong things over a period of time, it becomes like a culture. So I like the fact that the central bank is hitting hard on the banks, because they didn't have to be made to do the right thing, because they have to defend Nigerians, because who are the stakeholders? Because the commercial banks, all they're interested in is their shareholders, and shareholders are interested in profit. So if you must give the stakeholders what they require, Nigerians what they required, so somebody has to speak for Nigerians, and which is exactly what the central bank is doing, which I really appreciate them for that.
Right, and this is for not dispensing cash, on the ATMs during the Yuletide season. So I'm wondering, after the fine, what next? One would expect the banks to be scampering to load the ATM machines now, but it seems that's not the case.
Now, for those banks who are culpable, by the time they lose those funds, so what happens is, let's say is an internal issue. So those given saddled with the responsibility to, make sure that the operations managers who are supposed to feed those ATM machines, and they didn't do it. So if the bank loses money, so the bank obviously the pressure will be on them to hit those who are saddled with the responsibilities directly. So when they start to lose money, everybody now begins to sit up, because the reality is, until you, like I said earlier, you must make people do the right thing. Don't expect people to do the right thing. As soon as they begin to, everybody gets a bite of it. So people will just sit up, naturally. So those banks, as soon as they begin to lose money, of course, they will begin to make sure, line manage properly, micromanage people, make people, just get people to sit up to do their work, because every single decision we take at every point in time affects the next person, which is that man nature. You need to know that anytime you take a decision, you need to consider the next person, because whatever you do affects the next person.
And I'm trying to imagine, after the fines and, the ATMs still stay empty, you still can't get cash, for the ATMs. What do you think should be the next step, at this point? Because you don't want the regulator to, look like they don't have power, over regulation.
I think the central bank should be harder. I think they should, the supervision that they're supposed to be doing to banks. The banking supervision department of the central bank should, set up a monitoring team that will be going around from bank to bank, from state to state, to make sure that these ATMs are loaded. And then, like I said, you will definitely find somebody who's not doing the right thing. And then, but from the fines they pay, you use it to make sure that that team or the units, they are well funded to make sure that they go around to monitor. So I think that's the next step. See, like I said, I keep saying we need to make people do the right thing.
Because I'm wondering, how else can the central bank, get cash to the people, if the banks are not doing it? Because we did hear about the e-naira, at some point. That somehow was a direct contact between the central bank and, that's the banks. So that would leave, the commercial banks somewhat out of the loop, if it was the e-naira. But this is a different ball game. This is cash, we're talking about at this time. Is there really going to be a change in 2025? Do you think Nigerians will really have access to cash like the good old days?
Yeah, so trying to get the central bank to do beyond what they are supposed to do. It's their mandate is very clear. There are a few things that they can't do. Yes, introducing the e-naira was not for them to compete with the commercial banks. The commercial banks have to do their job. So what I think is more licenses to. They should create competition among the banks. More people should come into the playing field. So when that competition is created, it gives room for those who feel that we are all and all. They begin to sit up, and then they begin to, knowing that there's competition, you definitely have to sit up. So I think, even the microfinance banks should be, supported to make funds available, especially to those who are not able to, bank with the commercial banks. So they provide those support, and then again, like I said, the ATM points, the POS points. There has to be a stronger regulation to see, to regulate how much they charge, how much, for them to dispense those funds or give out funds to people. So those charges have to be properly regulated. So we must put eyes on whatever everyone is doing, because the stability the stability we need when it comes to our financial ecosystem has to be well structured and robust.
And talking about the banks, getting all the attention at this time, that's Nigerian banks. You see, the Nigerian Communications Commission, they're planning to take drastic measures to end the lingering disputes that's between the telcos and the banks over the unstructured supplementary service data, USSD debt. Is it that the banks don't get value from this USSD service? That's why they're not really, keen on paying back that debt?
So it's an ongoing conversation. This whole conversation started from the Department of Banking and Payment Systems in the Central Bank 2017. So this conversation, I think it was actually something that wasn't properly managed from day one. So from 2017, when this whole, the framework was put in place, yes, even the Central Bank within the framework, have the powers to actually penalize or to sanction any financial institution that is not playing by the rules. So, the conversation, even I think it was in 2021, again, there was a round table, NCC, the central bank sat down, and then to look at how to get this things to work. So, what should be charged, how this money should be domiciled within the banks. Even at the point, the bank said, okay, telcos, charge your funds directly from Nigerians. And then, so it's going to be, it's a bit tricky, but I think it's something that the central bank should come in at this point in time, because the NCC taking that drastic decision, that means they're going to be getting a lot of people out of the banking system, because there are people who don't have smartphones, who depend, on those USSD to, make, get transactions to happen, in the local areas. These are people who the financial system, that have to be, carried along in the financial system. So I think the central bank should come in now, because the NCC's decision might, affect a whole lot of people. And like I said earlier, we need to take decisions knowing that people will be affected, because if we are talking about supporting those who are, I mean, like the slogan, allow the poor to breathe, they are already suffering with high inflation. Now you want to get people to suffer. So I think there has to be a way that the central bank needs to, let's look at the books. How much did you receive, because those monies are domiciled in these commercial banks? These things are not hidden. So let's see how much. Okay, are you trying to say that this money, is it like a protest that these monies are being received by telcos, you don't get enough out of it? So let's work around it. These are things that can be solved. But I think at this point in time, central bank needs to come in so that NCC does not do what they want to do. I understand why they want to do what they want to do, but the truth still remains that a lot of people, just like two elephants fighting, then the grass will suffer, like they always say.
Right. At some point, we're hoping the grass doesn't have to suffer, right now. But yes, as I said earlier, we've been expecting inflation data. That's for December 2024. That's out now, released by the National Bureau of Statistics. And the numbers are out, 34.80%. That's what we have for December inflation, from 34.60% in November 2024. The rate of rise there, that's about 2.44%. That's the rate of rise from the previous month. Food inflation rate, that's 39.84%. So we finally have that data. And yes, definitely that's going to tell us, or give us an indication of what to expect when it comes to monetary policy rate decisions. So, Mr. Kuku, the numbers are out for December. After all of the partying and the dirty December, we saw all of that data showing how Nigerians, home and abroad, spent money. So what do you make of this data, 34.80%? Is it in line with your expectation? That's for December.
No, it was expected, because I mean, like you said, a lot of people spend. There's always a lot of spending. So the issue of inflation, hitting hard, was expected. So that said, I think it is central bank on their own, knowing that this will happen. So the next MPC, so you expect a tightening, further tightening, because I mean, whether you like it or not, so we need to, we need to curb, find a way to curb the inflation. The inflationary pressure on goods and services is something that they have been working on, and then we've been achieving results, though gradual, but I mean, it's something that we need to continue on. So I mean, it was expected that a lot of a disposable income would be used to celebrate and all. It was so much. I mean, it was expected, really.
Right, and talking about the rebasing, that will be for January. Some say that might take inflation number maybe higher or lower, depending, on how much change, comes to that methodology and the inflation basket. But I guess a lot to look out for investors and all those people there that help us track most of this data, to help us give a forecast on what's going to play out, with the Nigerian economy. But it was great having you for the show today. Thank you so much. That was Mr. Ogbonna Okuku, economic development expert, who was joining me from the Abuja studio. Thank you so much for coming on today.
All right, thanks for having me.
All righty there. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll head straight to the market to see if investors might be reacting, to that inflation number for December. That's in a moment. Just stay with us.